Okay, I'm just gonna show you real quick in this video how to set up just the moles in your whack-a-mole game. So whatever your mole is gonna be visually, just I want you to start thinking about the setup and how things are gonna work as far as frames and keyframes and animation. So what you're gonna want, and this is kind of creepy, well, first of all, you want to have a movie clip that represents your mole. So when you're in Flash, if you take your cursor and go down here to the very bottom here, you can say you would like to make something new. When this pops up, you want it to be a movie clip, and you can name it whatever. I'm going to call mine mole. Now, you'll notice that when you create a movie clip in that way, you hit new symbol, say movie clip, you are already in the brain of the mole. So there's the main timeline, here's the mole. Now, you're going to of course set up some different frames, but you really want in the very beginning, this is strange, you want to have a certain number of frames that are blank because you want that to be him hiding in his hole, and so you can't see him. Now, don't forget that we got 24 frames per second, so every frame is 1/24th of a second. So you want that to last more than one frame. So eventually you're gonna, I don't know, and you'll play with whatever your timing looks like or whatever makes you happy. But eventually, at some point, um, you'll want something else to happen. So you have him hiding in his hole, which is blank, and then at some moment he's going to start to rise from his hole. Now, um, what you want is you want to, and this is a little creepy, you want to take whatever picture it is that you have and you kind of want to crop it into different pieces. So notice when I'm in this mole movie clip, this is kind of his XY, that's the center of his world. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set him right on top of that crosshair, kind of centered on him. And so basically, for so many frames, he's doing nothing, and then he pops up. And of course, you'll want that to happen for some amount of time. So you'll have him starting to pop up. Now, and again, you'll mess with the timeline on your own, but what you're going to want to happen is this, you see this image for so long, for a certain number of frames, and then you want to build some kind of creepy totem pole. So you had nothing, then you had this, then you would want something like this, then you're going to want a little more of your image. And, and again, I'm just showing you a quick demo. These are not all going to be on one frame. You have so many frames of nothing, so many frames of this, so many frames of this, and you want to keep building up, whoops, your mole. Now notice, I'm going to say that I'm going to assume that that little crosshair is ground level. What most kids do to me is they start to build their mole upside down, and they're like, well, he was here, and then he was here, and then he was here, which means he's going to look like he's falling out of the ground. So you want him to be building on top of the ground. So there's that, and then head and shoulders, and then head and shoulders and more shoulders, I don't know, head and shoulders and torso. And so you want them to be building up, not falling down. Awesome. And so just think about from an animation standpoint, eventually you have, I don't know, whoops, the tallest one that you've got. And from an animation, as an animator, you want to see nothing, then you want to see that, then you want to see that, then you want to see this, and then this, and then this for a little bit. Then don't forget that you'll want to see him going, whoops, back into the hole. So as an animator, then you'll have some frames. You had some frames that look like this, then you'll have some frames that look like this, and then you'll have some frames that look like this again. And so just as an animator, again, these are not all in the same frame. I'm just showing you a quick example. You're going to see nothing, then you'll see a little bit of his head, then you'll see this, then that, then this. You'll have this for a few frames, then you'll go back to this for a few frames, and so you're going to have to rig up some animation that means that looks like he's rising and he's falling. And so that would be all the that would be beautiful. That would be kind of what you're going to physically see in your mole. And then once you have your mole defined, you can just drag your mole out onto the screen several times, have very many instances of your moles, and that would make you happy. Now, um, let's talk real quick about some Photoshop tips if you want to splice up your picture. So you've got some picture. I don't know why we have a hobbit, but please don't make whack a hobbit. That just seems mean. Nobody wants to whack a hobbit. But the easiest way is if you grab your picture here. Now, if you go in Photoshop and say image, and then go down to canvas size. Now, inches is not too helpful, but if you switch this to pixels, and apparently this is a 150 by 150 picture, and if you want to kind of get your mole frames going on, that of course would be him. This would be the picture of him standing completely out of his hole. But then if you start saying, okay, I really only I want this canvas size to be 100 pixels, that's going to change. It's not going to shrink the picture, it's just going to shrink the canvas that the picture is on. And you have some control here about how you want that canvas to shrink. Now I'm probably going to pick the wrong one. So you could say, do you want it to shrink down or up? I think up. That's probably wrong. And it will say, hey, you're going to lose some of your picture. You know that. And I did it wrong. Sorry. Let's do that again. So image, canvas size. You want to switch this to pixels. You want this to be something smaller. What did I do last time? Did I say down or up? I don't remember. Try that one. And yes. And so then what you would do is save this image as a different file name. So you had like mole1 and then call this mole2. And then if you just keep doing that, whoops, I did the wrong one again. You want to say image, canvas size, make sure you switch it to pixels, and then make it smaller. And then you get another and then if you would save this as yet another picture with a different file name, you'll just have this sequence of images that look more and more like this, and then you don't have to worry about. It's much easier than doing selecting and cropping and all that kind of stuff. So if you could just kind of cheat by saying changing the canvas size and saving it, and that will give you all the images that you need. And hopefully what that will do is help you to get your mole set up so that you can just visually have those. Okay, and so your phase one with what you would have so far, once you crop up your images and you get your timeline all beautiful, you'll have some movie clip that is your mole. Now, the annoying thing is you want the beginning frames to be blank so it looks like the mole is in his hole. So what I have is kind of bizarre because when I drag this thing out on the screen, I don't see anything, but that's because he's in his hole. Kind of makes it hard to move around, but once you should end up with something. Now, this is not the end goal for phase one because this is lame because they're all just doing the same thing at the same time. So you're going to fix this before you're done with phase one, but this is phase 0.5. So once you've gotten your images cropped up, you've built your creepy totem pole, you've used the frames, you've got everything happy, you can bring some instances out on the screen and it would be amazing. And that's kind of your first step